Hello, and welcome to the Dementia Dish with Danielle. I am a public education coordinator with the Alzheimer's Society of Peel, and I'm coming to you today to talk about wanting to go home, which is a very common experience, especially for people living with Alzheimer's disease. So, what is home and where is home? But you are home. Home may not be what you are thinking it is. Home can be a feeling of nostalgia, of something familiar. It may be somebody wishing for their parent, their mother. It may be their childhood home where they grew up. It could be the country that they've come from. It may just be a way of the person expressing that they are fearful because they are unfamiliar in the environment to which they are currently in. Here are some common scenarios that families that are supporting persons living with dementia may have heard or experienced with their family member living with Alzheimer's disease. Every evening after dinner, my wife tells me she needs to leave and go home, but we have lived here for over 30 years. Another common scenario, my mother keeps asking to go to her house in Italy. The house is real, but we sold it in the mid-70s, and she's convinced she still lives there and is constantly asking to go there. Or every time I visit my father in his long-term care home, my heart breaks as he repeats over and over, I want to go home. It makes me wonder, did I make the wrong decision? Or during the evening, my mother becomes very weepy. And all I can ever make out is that she's asking to go home. When I ask her where she lives, she doesn't respond, but she does keep asking to go home. So these are just some of the scenarios that family care partners have told us about that they experience. And so, what can we kind of do in these situations, and why are these situations occurring? So, when the person in the later day, early evening, is suddenly, disorientated to where they are, this could be about brain fatigue. The person is more tired. At the end of the day, that damaged brain is experiencing more brain fog, and the person may be less orientated to where they are. As a person living with dementia's disease progresses, they may start to become unfamiliar with the environment around them, which can make them feel fearful, scared, and to be searching for the familiar. And that idea of what they have in their mind as where they live may be a past address. It could be where they grew up. It could be a lot of things. So if the person is in their home and they're asking to leave uh, and go elsewhere, what can we do to sort of support this person around that? So one is to validate the emotion that they're expressing. Um, a lot of families have said what's happening is the person just seems so scared in the environment they are, and they have this emotional need for feeling secure. So you could validate the emotion by saying, you're in a safe place. I'm here with you. I'm not going to let anything happen to you. So validate the fear that the person is experiencing. Also, some families have said that what has worked for them is to take the person out of the house for a walk, if the weather supports that, or for a drive, and say to the person, okay, we're going to go home and go for a drive or a walk and then return back to the location. And sometimes that is enough to reorientate the person and to have that sense of security returned. You might want to remove the coats and the shoes from the door area. So those outdoor coats, outdoor shoes, if they're sitting near the exit, that might trigger the person to want to leave. So putting those things out of sight can help to sort of not trigger that particular response. Also, it's a great idea to do some security proofing. So looking at the doors, if someone's already saying, I want to go home when they're in their own home environment, there is a risk of the person leaving and then going missing or getting lost. So locks at the top of the doors or the bottom of the doors, maybe child-proof handles that go over the door handles to make it more difficult for the door to be opened, and that sort of thing in order for there to be less of a chance of a missing incident. If the person wants to go home and they're talking about another country, maybe the country of origin, try a delay tactic. So let's plan to go there next year, right? So don't argue with them that they can no longer travel or that the home that they're thinking of as their childhood home has been sold and no longer is there for them to return to. In the person's mind, the person living with dementia's mind, those locations still exist and are very real to them because their long-term memory is intact and they are drawing from that past experience and thinking and it is the current time. So we don't want to argue with them about that. Instead, let's use some delay tactics. Again, validate the emotion of wanting to return home. It was a wonderful place to live. I can understand why you want to be there. You could just use some distraction techniques by having the person talk about what home was like. What was it like growing up there? What sort of things did you do? Right? So get the person talking. If the person living with dementia needs to make a move, and if the person is able to understand that they will be moving, meaning that the short-term memory isn't too short, then involve the person in the process of moving because that will help with the adjustment. But if recall is very short, then you might want to tell them just before the move as opposed to well in advance. Either way, when a person living with dementia moves into a new environment, that new environment is quite unfamiliar. And until a routine is set, we should expect that there will be an adjustment period where the person may feel less secure in that environment, have difficulty wayfinding in that environment. So we're going to need to give a lot more support around that transition to a new environment. If you have any questions around some of these topics, please feel free to reach out to the Alzheimer's Society of Peel. We do have both a phone number for service access and a email address where you can reach out to us. You can also follow us on Facebook, X or Twitter, Instagram, and we do have more videos on our YouTube channel. So please feel free to check out our other videos. And we hope to see you back. Thank you for joining us today.